What the hell are we going to talk about today anyway?
We could talk about predicting the future.
Predicting the future. Oh my God.
In a manner of speaking.
Are you out of your mind?
As science fiction writers, we try to project what's going to occur in the future. And we try to write something that's both futuristic, but still relatable to the people that we're writing for. That's a balancing act. It's a tough one. And I'm curious what you think about it. And you know, I just made that up right on the spot since we were just talking about this subject.
Mm-hmm. You made it up just on the spot because we were talking about this subject.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a great question, though. Skynet came online today, but it was 1997 is the actual date that Skynet supposedly came online?
Supposedly?
Supposedly.
It's the day it did come online. See, I'm writing a lot of fiction about AIs and in human interaction with them. And we're seeing this topic actually is kind of prescient because Elon Musk came out and said, now I can see into the mind of a pig.
Just had to look at Congress.
No, those things are empty except for wallets. I actually haven't read up on what he said about the pig. I just read the title. That was about it. Of the thing, and it just looked like utter bullshit to me from what I was hearing. However, he had a really good point because what they're talking about doing, at least, is very similar to the block technology that I talk about in Derelict, Peter F. Hamilton's stuff, a whole bunch of different folks who see neural implants as being inevitable at this point. And just think for a moment, as a human being living in godforsaken 20, that in 5 years you're going to have one of these puppies. How would that change your life?
For the worse in so many ways. Because anything that man can create, man can hack.
This is absolutely.
Do you
correct.
really want something in your head that can be hacked?
No, I don't.
Because having
Absolutely
something
not.
in your head that can be hacked is the entire premise of Empire of Bones.
It's also the entire premise of holy shit, so many movies, so many books.
It's
so
not a
many
good
different
thing.
series.
Would you ever trust anything that they could implant in your brain?
I don't trust this goddamn computer I'm working on now, and I paid for the sumbitch.
It's listening to you. It's
Of course
making
it is.
note of
I'm
all
talking
the
to
things
it right
you
now,
said.
and it's broadcasting my words, which could be reassembled into anything. All my timbers, all the different timbers in my voice, all the different wave patterns and enunciation, the gravel in my voice, all of that can be mimicked.
You
given
can be
enough samples.
defaked.
You can be defaked. So we've gotten to this wonderful point of paranoia about all this. But at the same time, think about, let's take out the insidious aspects of neural technology, but let's start thinking about a situation where that allows humans to have a hive consciousness.
I can hardly imagine what that would even look like. We're individuals, and it's hard to imagine having a multiplicity of consciousness that are all linked together that closely.
Well, it depends, and therein lies the trick. Is it really hive or is it tribe mind? Tribe mind
depends on how close it is. It depends on the integration.
Tribe mind, I think, is more likely to happen with human beings than something like the Borg. But Dean, the Borg is a good example of that too. If you're able to transmit information and share information immediately without any obstacles to it, you could, if you had human beings that weren't complete dipshits and assholes and trolls, you could essentially create very, very effective teams for solving any kind of problem, because they would not be limited by interface, by the awkwardness of the human language. If you could just transmit emotions, images, sounds, and nothing else, just imagination of that, and communicate in that way and learn to interpret it, it would be so much more it would be so much more fast than the analog ways in which we express ourselves at the moment. It takes time to write something down. It takes time to tap keys. It takes time to form words, to speak, to describe something. If all of that is done for you in the instant of a flash, just basically sending a thought that carries so much contextual information with it, then it would completely transform how we communicate.
This is true, but I'm going to go ahead and bring in a different type of analogy in this.
Uh-oh.
When you look at superheroes, they are defined not by their powers, but by their limitations. It's the kryptonite that defines Superman, the thing that takes him from being all-powerful to bringing him low. Every superhero has some form of kryptonite, some kind of limitation. When you look at this type of technology, I'm much more interested in where it breaks down than where it works.
I think the two are interlinked. Because if you, God, there's so much stuff I wish I could talk about right now. They're interlinked in the sense that if I have those folks wired up in that way, then theoretically I'm controlling them, right? So you would have basically someone who's in control of that team who may not even be quote unquote part of the team.
I'm not sure that I fully agree with that statement, because control implies imposing one's will upon. And I'm not sure exactly how you would do that with the free flow of information. The control would be in the limitations. Who do I block? Who do I not allow to communicate?
It depends. If you look at it as cell technology or mesh technology, then each team has maybe 5 members, and those 5 members are linked together. They're air gapped to everybody else, except maybe.
But what does the controller do?
I don't know yet. I haven't thought about it.
Does the controller control what from the outside gets in, what from the inside gets out? Does he control what's shared between members? Does he control how much the members can share with one another? It's all about the limitations.
Yes, but yes, and there's trade-offs. In my particular instance here, because my mind does this, I keep thinking more and more that these people have also had their brains messed with a bit.
It's starting to sound like the Minority Report right here, buddy.
Well, except these people will be capable of combat, hacking into systems, doing any kind of damage assessment or damage creation, hazardous work environments, things like that. So essentially, you would be imposing, God, I hate to use the term because there's so much baggage with it, and I understand that people are bound to get pissed off, but make them a little bit more autistic. So the expressions are more targeted towards things. Maybe psychologically you start giving them things to do for certain OCDs, or cultivating OCDs to give them things to do. Basically, you're completely defining their lives.
It does sound like Minority Report then.
To the folks that get stuck in the thingy, yeah, when you're talking about those 3, but I'm not talking about these folks who are being used for that kind of thing. They're being used for something else completely, as in they still have to interact with humanity.
Something that you mentioned there sparked an idea in me that's only tangentially related to what you're talking about. Rather than having individual people involved in this, what about having iterations of people? You take Paul, but you want Paul to be able to do more. So you create another electronic copy of Paul, Paul 2, then you have Paul 3 and Paul 4. And they each, because they're the same person, can work together in such a way that they're far closer to one another, and they can act like they're almost extensions of one another because they know intimately what any of the other ones might do under a certain set of circumstances.
That's all good and groovy until you realize the first one you cloned was a sociopath to begin with.
I think I may have just inadvertently tread right into what Paul is writing right now.
No, but God, that's so freaking tangential to something that I am doing. Yeah, this goes back to the perils of cloning as well, right? Or making copies of anything. Eventually, you have information degradation. This has been covered in very, very many movies and books and everything else.
There's that movie where the clones just kept getting weirder and weirder.
There's Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, I think where he's got 4 clones.
The one with Keaton is the one I'm thinking of, but as the clones got up there in number, they got stranger and stranger.
Yeah, because they were cloning the clones. They weren't even cloning the source. They were cloning clones. Yeah, there's something called damaged DNA there. Anyway.
Replication errors is what you're looking for.
Yeah, replication error is a good way of saying it. So there's even a video game. Oh, God, I can't remember what it's called now. Holy shit. It was goofy. It's made to be 50s style sci-fi, and you're some alien species that comes down and invades Earth. And destroy all humans. That's what it's called. Destroy all humans. And the whole reason they're doing that is because of this very thing. They've become they are basically plundering Earth for DNA because their cloning has gotten to the point where they have to have fresh installments of DNA.
Oh my God. You are talking about a game version of Mars Needs Women.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't even know where I know that title from. Was that a movie or a book? I'm not even sure at this point.
I know
it's either a movie or a book. I'm thinking it was a movie.
I know it's a movie.
Probably really bad.
It's probably absolutely horrendous. And there's probably one of our folks out there who knows exactly what we're talking about, and we'll get a full synopsis and review later. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing when we're talking about all these different things that come together. They do kind of interlink. And yeah, there's a lot of places where they fall down. There's a lot of places where our current technology falls down. And all we're doing is kind of projecting it. But what I'm interested more is the societal changes that causes, regardless of the functionality of it or the security or anything else, is the change in society that happens because of that. Or the change in abilities of folks to solve problems or those kinds of things. And then, of course, yes, you absolutely have to talk about the bad stuff. There's always a trade-off.
Bad stuff is always the fun part.
There are no free lunches ever. Mars Needs Moms was a movie in 2011. No, there's Mars Needs Women. I know what he's talking about. Mars Needs Moms. That's probably a way over there.
It was a 1967 independently made direct-to-television movie.
There you go. Enough said.
Which explains a lot because that's, just a few years after I was born. So I must have heard that title when I was a kid or somehow been exposed to it when I was a kid as a rerun.
Mars Needs Moms. I like that too. Is that where the Martians came down and started kidnapping mommies because they didn't have any mommies? Is that what you're telling me, Veronica? I don't even know half these things exist because I don't have children or...
I could just see it now. The Martians, we will conquer the Earth. And the mom going, did you put that in your mouth?
Ooh, you've got Earthling on you. Get out of here.
Go wash your hands. Go wash your hands.
What have I told you? Don't play with the humans. This is they're playing a game of patty cake. How many times have I told you not to play with your food?
God, you could totally write a book using all the various mom sayings against the invading Martian enemies. That could be amazing.
I got nothing. I just, my brain will not process that at this point in time. Veronica says they tried to kidnap someone's mom because they ran out of maternal influence or something.
Sounds like it.
Did it really matter why? Here we are. We have this flimsy plot point. There's a reason for us to be here. Now let's cause some mayhem. Now we got the 2 minutes of why we're here out of the way. We could focus on the mayhem.
The show is all about the mayhem, buddy.
If you got a flimsy plot, just kind of throw that thing away and just get going. Don't have a reason for it. Just move on.
Strong characterization can make up for a flimsy plot.
So I've been told.
Not really, but that's what I'm gonna put my flag there.
I'm not even going to address this point.
All right. I'm looking at you drinking out of the football shaped thing there. I've got to ask, you're like somebody that goes to these football games and tailgates. That's not happening this year.
No.
How is that affecting you?
I'll have more Sundays to do other shit.
But not very much more productive shit. You need to decouple. You need to unwind. That's what those things did for you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, crazy. Those things did do the unwinding. That's why they were good. That's why they were great. I have no idea. Right now I'm watching hockey until it goes off the air. That'll be around for a couple of weeks. It's pretty
much need some more high sticking. That will go ahead and improve your spirits.
Trust me, there's been plenty of high sticking in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. Trust me, plenty of it. Very, very many bad, nasty, horrible things.
So, Paul, we write set in the future. How do you go ahead and set up the implications of something in the past to be carried out as futuristic without having reality completely overtake you? And I'm going to use the example here of Star Trek, the original series.
Okay.
That was done back in the 60s, and how they portrayed computers, as opposed to here we are just 60 years later, and we're wildly exceeding what the computers were like back then.
Mm-hmm.
How do we try to proof ourselves against being Star Trek?
You can't. You absolutely can't.
You could try. You're going to fail.
You're going to fail.
Take at least certain steps to try to say, how is this really going to work out?
See,
we got to become futurists. That's what we have to become.
Yeah, but that's what's so funny about that, though, is they were thinking futuristic, but the bottom line is that there are so many in the last 50 years, 45 years. There have been so many micro explosions of technology that should have taken decades, and instead they were compressed into a single decade. We went from 8086 to 686 machines. We basically just kept rolling up everything and moving forward, and it moved faster than anybody ever had a thought of.
Should I go ahead and get rid of my 386 machine now? Because I think it might be outdated.
That may be the most secure computer on the face of the planet right now. You could run damn tiny Linux on that thing, and it would be a truck. It would be impenetrable. It wouldn't be able to do anything, but it would be impenetrable. As long as you're at the command line, you should be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be able to do everything. It's not a problem.
We're going to load DOS 3.0, buddy. We're here.
Oh, you better go further back than that, man. I'm thinking DOS 2, maybe.
We're going. I think we've exceeded the computer knowledge of most of the listeners right now.
I'm sorry. Did we just nerd ourselves? Did we just let our nerd flags fly?
Apparently we did.
Ruffling in the wind.
I should load DOS.
Back in those days, a computer took up an entire city block.
The microcomputer really messed up their idea of what computers were going to be like.
Yeah, and it happened.
Microprocessor, I guess.
Microprocessor, yeah. Once we got rid of the vacuum tube, it was just like full speed ahead because fuck vacuum tubes.
Now we're on the verge of quantum computing.
Yeah, and we'll see what this next morass, what kind of morass that's going to bring.
So you could legitimately write science fiction where you give a computer godlike power, and you probably wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah, it depends on what other hand waving you want to throw in there. But if you think about it, let's say we're on the precipice of Apple throwing out these desktops. They're going to be running on an ARM chip, a ton of ARM chips, actually, which I'll get by the technical bullshit. But basically what it means is that they're cutting the power of the CPUs that they're using by like an eighth per. And they're losing performance in each of these chips by maybe a fifth per. So by consolidating the chips in there and changing the architecture, they're able to make a faster computer that uses less power. But it means throwing away the old Intel stuff, completely throwing it away. And that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What is that going to lead to in the next 3 years in how all this stuff is done? I'm working with robotics. I've got all these NVIDIA Jetsons lying around. These little computers can do an amazing amount of things. And they're like $100. And this is the kind of processing power we can get now out of something that small. And if you can build an entire supercomputer neural network out of buy 10 of these things.
You need to write a story where, a couple of redneck scientists go ahead and create their own AI supercomputer.
For milking cows?
That's a great idea. I think that's actually a wonderful idea. Have you heard that, this is a total aside, have you heard that they now have, for dairy cows, self-service milking?
Excuse
they have it
me?
set up. It's robotically controlled. The cow goes in when it feels like it's, needing a little milking, and the machine takes care of it without a human being there. The cow's self-service. I have totally destroyed his intellect.
Do they also carry their own bolt guns when it's time? I mean, the self-service execution. This is sounding more and more like Douglas Adams' restaurant at the end of the universe.
This is dairy cows.
I'm talking about the next step here. The next step is obviously, it's time for me to go see the bolt gun. You just kind of scramble up there. Well, goodbye, cruel grass. What the fuck is that? Or making moonshine. There we go.
There's no telling what your redneck engineers would make with their AI. And that's kind of what's fun about that type of story. What the hell will they do with it?
Well, I mean, but that's the same thing with anybody in their garage now. I guess that's kind of the point of what I'm saying, is that the next humongous technological breakthrough may just be some hobbyist using off-the-shelf parts, finding something goofy that happens when they do something goofy. I mean, you just have no effing clue what is going to go on there. There's no way to future-proof. Absolutely not. Quantum computing, for instance, may be the biggest bullshit boondoggle that humankind has ever foisted upon itself. It may also be the stair step to a new type of physics. I mean, it may be the stair step to us creating truly intelligent life forms, if you want to call them that.
Talking something different technology-wise, I ran across an article a week ago where it was talking about taking, I think it was carbon-14, maybe it was carbon-12, from nuclear waste.
And pasting probably carbon-14.
Probably carbon-14. And putting a very thin layer of it in between synthetic diamond and making basically a very low-powered chip out of it that would provide that low power for incredibly long periods of time. For the smallest ones, like up to tens of thousands of years.
So basically, you're reliant on the half-life.
Yes, pretty much. But it's protected, so there's no radiation. It's not really salvageable as far as making a weapon out of it, whatever. But you could make something like a cell phone battery out of it that would not only never need charging, it would last for decades, providing the power continuously that you would need for a cell phone. And it could be ramped up to the size of a house or larger to provide power in eternium almost for human being lifespan, certainly. That's something that they've now made the prototypes for, and they're looking at beginning commercialization of it within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about.
One can never guess what's coming next.
I mean,
no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Exactly. By the time we get out into space and start really doing stuff, I think magnetic boots are not going to happen.
Ooh, what's going to be in their place?
I think there are better solutions out there. They have created several different types of materials that allow you to affix to any surface, essentially.
Velcro feet.
Sort of. Think more spider web, because it's all based on how spider webs work. And the thread, it's all based on that. We're talking some of the oldest technology in Earth's experience anyway, biotech. So,
spiders can walk on water using the surface tension of the water to hold them up. So if you scale that up, it's like Chun from the Destroyer running across the lake.
Theoretically, yeah. There's I haven't seen the technology used, obviously, but there's several of them out there. One has that. Another one has, it's going to sound wrong, but almost like micro bristles, so to speak, but they're nano. sized. So basically you got nanotubes under there that are affixing and unaffixing as you're going across the surface.
Carbon nanotubes will change the world.
So, I mean, I would think that based on flipping the polarity of your footstep, that you could it would naturally allow you to walk on the surface. It would still be kind of goofy because in microgravity things are goofy, but it'd probably be a better solution than magnetic boots.
All right then.
But
well, I'm not dismissing it.
But I have mag boots. I have mag boots in Derelict. All these other books have mag boots because it's most likely what's going to be would be used tomorrow. We
can only use what we know about to project into the future. One of the reasons that I read so many scientific articles is because the idea of what's possible influences the directions I can write the story. It may turn out that something I've used for a scientific basis in writing a science fiction story 5 years after I've written it is completely and utterly discredited. But I'm going to use it, by gosh.
It's kind of like when they went by Iapetus, it's like, oh shit, I haven't written this story yet. They're going to blow my whole concept. No, they didn't blow the concept.
One of the story ideas that I have, it's written down in a synopsis that I wrote for myself because I really wanted to write this book, but I didn't have time. So I wrote the synopsis. And it was because of an article that I saw that said, if someone could create a stable wormhole linking two different places together, that they could then take one of those wormhole ends and speed it up to near relativistic speed, and the two would basically decouple as far as time. The one that was left alone would stay moving through time at a normal rate, whereas the one that's going at relativistic velocities would be greatly slowed as far as the amount of time that had passed for it. And so if you went way out with that and came back, you could have a wormhole in orbit around the planet that goes back 100 years. You go through it on one end, you pop out 100 years in the past. You go through the past one, you pop out 100 years in the future. And I said, that would make a wonderful story to write somebody doing that.
That would be some crazy bullshit. That would be some crazy bullshit.
It would totally be crazy.
Culture shock on both sides would be so horrific.
Think about this. The people in the past, they're the ones that created this device. It's not a shock to them. It started happening long before it actually came into existence, because the amount of time you'd have to take it around in relativistic velocities to make that work, the project had to have started significantly sooner than where the end product ended up.
All right, I have an even better question. Why in the fuck would you even do this?
I have no idea. I never got around to writing the story. I'm not sure why I would do this, but the fact that it could be done is a great story idea.
Maybe one of the planets is dying in one time?
On a vacation in the future, come through our wormhole.
Oh my God.
Can
you just imagine? Oh shit, no. This is why I stay the fuck away from time travel stories. I don't want anything to do with that bullshit because it'd just be no. I end up sleeping with my own grandmother somehow. That's usually how that's how it happened on Futurama anyway.
That's how it happened in one of the movies. I can't even remember now which one it was that came out 15, 20 years ago, where they inadvertently, they had to go back and change the movie after it was released to change one of the scenes because somebody wasn't paying close enough attention to the whole time travel relation thing. And they were actually, the romantic characters were grandfather and granddaughter until they changed things around because they weren't paying close enough attention to what they were writing.
Right. Yeah.
Awkward.
Time travel? No, that's just no. I don't want to deal with that. It's just too much baggage and bullshit with it. Unless I was going to talk about a time traveler who's stuck. That would be kind of cool. Lots of stories on that. Close off that path. They're stuck in there.
There was a television show back in the, I guess, 80s or 90s that involved that. A time traveler that had a device that could take him from place to place, but he lost the instructions.
Quantum Leap?
No, it was not Quantum Leap.
Oh, there was something else.
It was a boy and a time traveling guy that would use their little device and go to hot spots in history that they had to fix things.
Oh, yeah, I sort of kind of remember that now.
But they didn't get more than one season because the actor inadvertently used a gun loaded with blanks and found out that those are lethal at point blank range.
Yeah. That's what happens when you snort too much Coke.
Is that what he was doing? I have no idea.
I have no idea. I'm just guessing. It was the 80s.
It's possible.
That also happened to one of the guys that was on Soap. I can't remember his name now. He was a good actor. He's pretty funny. Anyway, yeah, shit like that. Bottom line is you take what we've got now, and what I try and do is I take what we have now and project. Okay, what happens if we solve this particular hurdle? I don't even have to describe how we solved it. We just solved it. We solved, this, that, or the other, and allows us now to have pocket fusion. Great. Wonderful. That allows me to do things.
Voyagers.
Voyagers. I don't think I ever watched that. Voyagers. Was that on the WB?
Gosh, now I'm curious when it was. It was 1982. That was quite a while back.
Holy crap. Wow. Yeah, I don't really remember that show. I would have been 12.
Yes, welcome to the Wayback Machine, folks, where we take you back to our childhoods to shows that you would never watch today.
Oh, speaking of, I had this during the blackout. When the blackout happened, I hadn't synced my iPad with Scrivener with Dropbox, so I couldn't work on shipyards. So I was like, all right, fine. Let me see what's on this iPad that I haven't touched in a while. And I came across something and I went, what the hell is that? I remember writing this sort of, but what the hell is this? So I opened it up and I had 9 chapters completely blocked out of what needed to happen in each chapter all the way down. It had not written a single word. So I wrote more than a single word. And that was just really funny because I was like, who wrote this? Well, I wrote up all the synopsis. I don't remember when I did this. In fact, that story's probably been there for like 3 or 4 years and changed 5 times. And I read the notes and it was obvious it started out one way, and as I was going through it, the notes got more and more detailed, and the plot kind of changed around, and suddenly it was on this kind of environment instead of this, and now it was set in the far future as opposed to being present day. It was just kind of like moving around, and then I saw all the chapter titles and all the way down the synopsis and went, holy shit, I got a book right here.
You ever looked at something, or are you familiar with the meme that has Gandalf standing there going, I have no memory of this place?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I went through the back storage of things that I had written, and I found half of a novel that I had no memory of actually writing.
That's because you're old, man. Look at your hair. You were so ready for the double ARP, man.
I'm already a member.
They've been trying to get me a member since I found my first gray hair. I think the double ARP has been sending me information since I was 28. I don't know which Paul Cooley they were trying to get to, but it wasn't me.
But it was you. They knew how old you were at heart.
Oh, the dagger within my heart. Oh, shall I endeavor this wound? Oh. Yeah,
yikes.
Anyway.
That's it. You need to go. Here's time travel for you. You need to go kidnap Shakespeare and take him to the far future and dump him into one of your adventures, and he's the only one talking in Shakespearean English.
Oh, wow.
How messed up would that be?
Okay, well, that's kind of like the reverse of
what the fuck did he just say?
Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's court, right? I mean, it's
exactly
the reverse.
That's exactly be what it would like. He would be in the future and he'd be saying something flowery, and the Marine would go, fuck that. Fuck that.
Actually, you'd be surprised. You read enough Shakespeare, there's a lot of really baudy stuff in there. He could, I would not have wanted to get in a rap with him, or distance somebody. He probably would destroy Eminem because he was really witty for the time and what he was doing.
Much. Make a note. You should do time travel by bringing Shakespeare into some forward, far future story.
To do a rap battle. A rap battle with Shakespeare. I love this idea. Why not drag Ben Johnson too? It'd be even funnier. Shakespeare and Derelict Saga. That could happen, actually.
You could have an AI that is Shakespeare.
Shut up.
Oh, I have no idea what's actually going on in Derelict. So me making guesses means nothing.
I don't even know what the hell's going on in Derelict. I find out when the AIs tell me. And they're really slow at figuring this out. But that is an interesting device. Yes, a computer that is the Shakespearean expert or some expert on some literature that's important to the universe or galaxy. What would that AI be like?
Here's the thing you could do with that. You could take and program an AI to be a Shakespearean expert. That's its purpose in life, is to be the researcher on that. But something goes wrong and suddenly it believes that it is Shakespeare.
I like this. I like this a lot. Now, let's make this worse. What if it's a military AI?
Oh my gosh. First off, why would you have a Shakespearean expert?
Accidents happen.
Maybe it's repurposed. You know, the hardware is they used this hardware, and now that they need the hardware for a military purpose, they go ahead and they think that they've wiped the AI so they can reformat it and load up whatever their military super weapon controller. But the private failed to actually wipe the original AI. Right. And so they've got the nuclear weapon wielding Shakespearean AI that thinks it is Shakespeare.
I love this idea. I love this ridiculous plot.
This is how writers work, folks. This is what we do.
In all sincerity, if you look at how neural networks work, you have no idea where data is actually being stored when one of these things are alive. You don't know what connection handles what information. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work like traditional programming. Once it's established, things move around constantly. So the idea of a neural net forming because it's been exposed to certain information and it decided that information was interesting, and so it kept going forward with it. Maybe there's some kind of cultural thing that they have to try and make it deal with humans a little bit more. And it just kind of globbed onto this because there was all this strategy and how the Shakespearean plays, all the tragedies and all the backstabbing worked out. And it's looking at all, Macbeth, it's looking at Lear, it's looking at Hamlet, it's looking at all those kinds of things. Well, soft what light through yonder airlock bricks. Oh, I love it.
That's actually a much better outcome than having the AI that is inadvertently loaded with Private Jaeger's porn collection and thinks that it's John Holmes.
I'm just saying, shit like that's going to happen. It sounds totally ridiculous, but if you start thinking about it, if when you're dumping data into these systems, you have to cleanse the data. If the data is not cleansed properly, the models that the neural networks make are a little goofy and off and may give you spectacularly inaccurate answers, because it's not doing what you think it's doing, and it's not doing what it thinks it's doing. It's doing something completely different. So if you weren't scrubbing the data properly, it is possible the neural network is going to get established that thinks one thing, and it may be something so minor that it's not ever caught until it becomes a major thing over time. That kind of shit can happen. That kind of shit can happen, especially in the future when we start getting using base templates for AI personalities, which I honestly think is going to happen. Period. It will happen. There's going to have to be some controlled areas where you see how these things interact before you cut them loose. A monitoring phase, if you will, I would think would be a good idea. There's just so much that could go wrong, and then tomorrow, of course, we can find out everything I just said is absolutely impossible.
And then 10 years from now, it'll be back on again.
And then 10 years from now, it'll be the reality. Yeah, that's how that works too. So you can't be afraid. You just grab, you extrapolate, and you go crazy.
if you are worried about being wrong in something that you are extrapolating, you're in the wrong field, pal. You have to have no fear. If you're wrong, you're like, I guessed wrong. It's not like any other futurist is not wildly wrong in things that have happened.
Well, Terry, you and I have both done this. We have artificial gravity. Mm-hmm. We have gravity solutions because gravity is a fucking pain in the ass to deal with. So we just say, screw it. We're not going to have micro G as much as possible because it gets in the way of everything else.
Unless it's something that really gets in the way of everything else and you really want to have it.
And you really want to have it, and then you take it away. Before having to describe every single movement in ZG or micro G every single time and having to describe it gets so goddamn boring and laborious. Fuck it. I want those portions to be there because something is fucked up, because I want it to be abnormal that they're in micro G. And I want the reader to know this is not normal for them. I mean, it's normal for them, but not normal for them.
It reminds me of a scene that I wrote in Liberty Station, where they're in a space station, and I had to introduce the readers to the Coriolis effect. Mm. Imagine shooting a weapon at any kind of distance, you're going to miss, because if you don't have experience being in a station that's rotating like that, like the HAB module, you're not going to know that what you're aiming at is actually curving through space. And so when you shoot, the bullet doesn't curve, but the target is.
Those curving targets, I hate it.
The further away you get, the better your chance of missing completely.
That's why we need smart bullets. I need an environment so large that it doesn't turn enough over that time. By the time the bullet gets there, they've only moved maybe, half a millimeter or something.
Math is a scary thing. I once said, I wonder if somebody fired a laser trying to snipe. I got you, cat. Ha ha ha! No! No!
The first cat sighting.
It tried to get on my keyboard, so that's not going to happen. I said, if somebody had a laser that could fire a coherent beam, if they wanted to snipe the pilot of 747 flying 3 miles above the ground, how much lead would they have to get the pilot? Would there be any lead? And it turns out that you actually have to lead them by a couple of inches if you want to hit them, if I remember correctly.
Oh, because they're moving so fast that by the time
they're moving and the distance taken, by the time you fire, they've moved by the time the beam reaches them, they've moved 3 or 4 inches, if I remember right. Something like that. So you actually have to have a lead time involved.
Interesting.
I'd have to do the math again to know for sure, but that's what I remember.
I think space combat is going to be very messy. I think first time it really happens, it's going to be the messiest damn thing human beings have ever seen. It's going to be the biggest clusterfuck ever. It is going to be bad. Really bad. Really bad. Because you're going to find out that this doesn't really work that way.
Well, when you go ahead and release both sides onto the ice and neither one can skate.
Yeah, exactly. Neither one can skate. Yeah.
It's okay, because then everybody's flailing around and falling down.
I mean, think about this. We got this elite group of combat Marines or whatever. They've been trained for microgravity combat, but have never seen true microgravity until they have to go into combat.
Awkward.
Oh, God, no. But I bet that's how it's going to happen. I bet it's how it's going to happen.
That's one thing about a unit in combat. It'll quickly weed some people out, and the ones that are left, they'll learn. That's how experience works.
Man, you misjudged that jump. You may be leaping a long way.
That first step, it's a biggin.
It's a biggin. You're going to make it to the moon. You won't be alive, but you're going to make it to the moon.
Congratulations, Private. You're learning what it feels like to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere without a heat shield.
Let us know when it gets warm.
I can see a drill instructor saying that when some private screws up and comes untethered.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you look at all the things that are going on and you do that extrapolation, it's pretty easy to find places where it makes sense to go. It doesn't have to be a huge magic trick. It doesn't have to be a huge undertaking. It's just kind of pick your way through there, be consistent, and you'll be fine. But I actually think the societal portions and all of that is much more important to me and much more fascinating to me than the technology itself. The technology they're just gimmicks and gadgets to make stuff happen.
Doodads.
It's just James Bond's crap, It's not James Bond. It's just the crap he uses to get around.
It's stuff that Q gives him, just in case.
Yeah, it's the just in case box, right? Don't let that take over everything, because it shouldn't. It just shouldn't, my humble estimation. And that's the real danger of writing so-called techno thrillers or anything else, is that the technology itself can become more important than the characters or the plot. And then you've kind of destroyed the whole point of having a story, because nobody gives a shit about how cool the tech is in there if it's a boring story that won't hold together and won't be a good story. Don't get carried away with that part. It's just sideline stuff in the background. For the most part, there's occasionally some things that have to be in the foreground because they're directly related to what happens and yada, 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 yada. Like a pig having a neural network installed in its brain.
It's better than a cat.
I'm terrified what happens if they ever create the cat thought translator. I think we're going to find out we're dealing with interdimensional beings.
Okay, here's a problem. You've got your derelict far future and you've got your AI templates.
Oh, no.
They're loading up the AI for the ship, and they inadvertently load the AI cat template.
I knew you were going to go there. Well, see, it turns out if you harvest certain brain cells from the feline anatomy and put them in this configuration, the neural network does this, and suddenly it's not asking for meow mix. It's asking, how do we take over the world today? Let me work on that.
Well, I'm thinking more like at 3 a.m. during the last watch of the night, suddenly the ship goes to full acceleration to go running around the moon for no reason that anyone can possibly figure out.
Oh my God. Oh, geez. AIs were expensive. It was easier to just transplant the brains of our pets in there.
What's the AI brain in your ship, Cujo?
Oh, yeah. What's his name? Cujo? Well, that's not going to end well, is it? Well, he was already rabid. That's why we called him that. And now I got this image of a dog, sitting in the engine room with like the BDI, the brain direct connect thing, and it's actually running the ship.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? That's what the captain has to do. Who's a good boy?
Good doggy. I think I got a milk bone. I get chew toy or the life support gets it. What's your job? I clean the engine shit.
These would be amazing stories.
Oh my God. Oh. Random meowing over the PA. Yes. HMS Fluffy. I love it. I wish I could write humor. That would be awesome. That would be freaking awesome. Man. Oh. We're running low on fuel. All right, let's go to Puppy Central. Gotta load up. We gotta get some more dogs in here.
Put the AI on the screen.
Oh, it's so ludicrous. It is so ludicrous. The plot device is so flimsy. There's no way we're all together for
what
more than a short film.
What if two ships meet and don't like each other?
Oh, okay. I'm broken. The ship equivalent of hissing and yowling. Not good.
Oh, they stalk around each other, you know.
They sniff each other's butts.
No, they're glaring at one another, waiting to, you know, figure out who they can dominate.
Oh, that ship's got the friendly tail. Watch it. Watch it. Nope. See that curl? Yeah, it's going to fuck with us now. Oh.
You'd have to have like an artificial tail on the bridge so you could tell the mood of the AI.
Now I just saw a bobblehead on the dashboard.
Oh boy, we have really gone down the rabbit hole on this one.
Far. Well, we are kind of like dogs chasing bones that people are throwing, because once we throw one, we both chase it.
Be like the Up movie. Squirrel.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my God, I'm dying here. Use the hand waving where it makes sense. Don't be afraid to use it. Don't be afraid to extrapolate. Do it. What are the consequences of all this crap?
And just don't be afraid of just excessively going over the line and making it ludicrous, because those can make good stories too.
Oh,
oh my God. That's the chip equivalent of a hairball.
Captain yelling, "Bad kitty."
Sir, we just blew up the station. Bad cat. Bad cat. Get the water bottle out.
Oh, brace for spew.
God, you have totally got to write this story, because you'll never be able to finish it, because you won't stop laughing.
Oh,
as you just go dead. You just keep going there.
Oh, this is just so ridiculous. The feline drive. Oh man, they just. Oh.
So the feline drive, that means the ship is a big hairball in and of itself.
Oh, fuck. I got nothing. Well, we rattled enough about that topic.
Oh, I think we have.
Oh, boy. You know what happened? Because I had to stop my stream, I lost my place. I had all this stuff open. I did. All right, there we go. All righty, so here's what we're going to do as the cat memes continue to come in. If you have something you'd like to say about this insanity, you can send an email to show@DeadRobotSociety. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can join us at the listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group. Shut up, Terry. You can find you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. If you want to see our ugly mugs, you can also find us on Patreon. If you want to support the show, give us for $1 a month, you can get exclusive access, like this live show where the patrons are hanging out with us and causing problems.
And we're going to hang around after we close this episode and see if the patrons have any questions.
Well, I'm sure they do, or comments. We'll probably continue on this feline starship thing for a while, because it seems like it's not going to stop.
I think we pretty much run that into the ground. Wait a minute. Where's the cat box?
We have to thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. And because Terry screwed up my outro completely, at the $10 level patrons, you get your name read. Our $10 patrons are Summer Wilson, Joshua Sylvester, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Nathan Cosby, Drew Bernardi, Chris Winder, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the show and keeping us on the air. We appreciate it.
We do, Brooks. Thank you.
All right, Terry, you got any words of wisdom to close with?
Just keep writing.
Okay, I'll accept it. Just keep
Even
writing.
If you got nothing but cats.
We'll see you next week, folks.